first scream shattered the silence of the Zerati royal palace. It began as a ripple, one voice in the crystalline corridors, and then multiplied until the entire stronghold trembled with alarm. Guards clattered across obsidian floors polished, smooth by centuries of power. The bioluminescent vines that twined along the walls pulsed red, casting everything in bloodlight. At the heart of the empire, a secret no one dared imagine had already unfolded. The alien queen's daughters were gone. Not kidnapped in plain sight, not taken in battle. They had simply vanished. Their chambers were sacred, guarded by 6 soldiers day and night, sealed by biosignature locks, reinforced with crystalline lattice known to deflect plasma fire. Yet, when the guards opened the chamber doors at dawn, they found only silken bedding tossed aside and curtains billowing from an open balcony. The princesses were nowhere. The panic spread fast. Whispers raced down the courtyards like fire in dry grass. If the royal heirs could vanish here, in the most secure palace in the empire, then nowhere was safe done in the throne hall. Beneath vaulted ceilings lined with glowing crystals, the alien queen rose, her crown spines of black stone tipped with silver caught, the light as her tendrils writhed with fury. Her voice shook the chamber. Find them. Tear apart every chamber, every fleet, every shadow of this world until they are returned. Her command was less an order and more a promise of destruction. Hunters' warriors, clad in living armor that hissed as it moved, swept into the city. Their sensors scanned the skies. Fleets launched from orbit, darkening the stars as they formed a net around the system. Still, no trace. Then came the first lead. A faint anomaly, barely detectable, flickered in the void beyond the Empire's border. A sliver of energy, stretched thin as if smeared across space, leading not deeper into Zerati territory but toward the edge of human space. The queen's tendrils coiled in disbelief. Impossible, she hissed. Her daughters would never willingly cross into human sectors. And humans, fragile, untested, short-lived things who barely clung to survival in their tiny colonies. No human would dare kidnap Zerati royalty. The very idea was insulting, yet the trail persisted, and her hunters obeyed. Across the void, ships followed the strange energy bleed to a forgotten outpost orbiting a red giant. The planet below was a ruin, a dead husk wrapped in sandstorms, its bones of ancient stone spires jutting into the sky. The hunters descended, claws tapping against their plasma rifles. Their senses sharpened. The ruins whispered of something unnatural. The deeper they searched, the more the unease grew. The sands had shifted recently, as if by footsteps. Cavern mouths yawned open, leading into the planet's hollowed core. Their scanners flared once more, faint life signs, impossibly small in the vast emptiness. The hunters froze. Human signatures, of all species, of all places. Why here? Why now? Suspicion gnawed at them like acid. The thought of their lost princesses tangled up with humans was unthinkable, yet the signal glowed steady. Their leader's spines bristled as he gave the order. Down, into the ruins. No mercy until the truth is clawed from their bones. The hunters descended into the darkness, red light fading behind them. Every step echoed like a war drum. Their weapons hummed with restrained fire, ready to tear the silence apart. And somewhere below, in those ancient crystalline caverns, a single human heartbeat waited steady, unafraid. The air in the ruins tasted of iron and ash. The Zerati hunters moved like shadows between shattered stone spires, their armor whispering as living plates flexed across their scaled forms. Above, a swollen red giant bled its dying light over the barren moon, painting the landscape in hues of rust and fire. Dust swirled with every step, carrying echoes of civilizations long dead. Yet what chilled the hunters wasn't the ruins. It was the signal. Their scanners pulsed with it. 2 royal biosignatures, faint but alive, tangled with a third, human. Impossible, the hunters told themselves. Impossible, but undeniable. Spread out, their leader growled, mandibles clicking. Keep the rifles primed. Humans lie with their breath and bleed with their touch. The squad fanned out eyes, glowing faint green behind their helmets. Every collapsed archway, every half-buried pillar could be an ambush, but no ambush came. The silence pressed tighter with each step, as though the ruins themselves waited to exhale. One of the hunters froze, claws brushing the ground. The dust, boar tracks, not clawed, Zirati steps, but boots, human boots. Heavy, deliberate, and recent. They led deeper into the cavernous maw of the ruins. The hunters followed. The descent swallowed them whole. The further they went, the less light from the red giant could reach. Bioluminescent crystals grew from the cavern walls, glowing in pale blues and purples like frozen fire. Their reflections caught on the hunters' armor, stretching their shadows into monsters. Then the sounds began. Not words, not machines. Breathing, a steady, human rhythm. The hunters' leaders signaled for silence, weapons raised. They advanced. The air thickened with tension, the weight of discovery pressing against their carapaces. For a moment, the squad imagined the worst, that the princesses lay slain, and a human scavenger sat gloating over their remains. But what they found was stranger. At the cavern's heart sat a human soldier, slouched against a wall of glowing crystal. His armor was battered, dented, scorched with the scars of battle. His rifle rested on the ground, discarded, and across his lap two small figures curled like sleeping animals. The alien, Queen's daughters, alive. The hunters froze in disbelief. The younger of the two princesses stirred in her sleep, nuzzling closer against the human's chest as if seeking warmth. The elder's spines twitched faintly, a sign of deep trust, something no Zirati ever gave outside their kin. The soldier's eyes flicked open, blue, sharp, despite the exhaustion etched into his face. He did not move for his weapon. He did not flinch. He simply looked at them, calm and unshaken, as though he had expected their arrival all along. The cavern filled with the hum of rifles powering up. Stand away from them, human, the leader snarled, or your bones will stain this chamber. The soldier said nothing at first. Then, slowly, carefully, he raised both hands, palms open. His voice was low, steady, carrying no fear. They're safe. That's what matters. The hunters bristled. Every instinct screamed to gun him down, to reclaim the princesses and cleanse this insult. But their claws hesitated on the triggers, because in the glow of the crystals, something was wrong. The soldier's armor bore more than battle scars. It bore claw marks, burns from plasma fire, gouges from blades, wounds no human should have survived. And yet he had. For them, the princesses stirred again, clutching tighter to him, murmuring words in their native tongue that made the hunters' spines shiver. Words of trust. The leader's mandibles clicked nervously. This was no kidnapping, no theft of bloodlines. This was something far more dangerous. A bond, and bonds between species had broken empires before. The cavern became a powder keg the moment the human lifted his hands. Dozens of plasma rifles glowed with coiled energy, their hum filling the crystalline chamber like the growl of hungry predators. The hunter's armor hissed as living plates, flexed, ready to strike. And between the barrels of their weapons and the jagged walls of stone, a single soldier sat unmoving. Two alien princesses nestled against him as though he were a cradle instead of a threat. The hunters did not understand it. They could not. Zirati children were raised in discipline, taught to trust only kin, and to view outsiders as potential prey. Yet here the royal heirs slept in the lap of a stranger. Not only slept, they dreamed. Their breathing was slow, their muscles loose, their spines relaxed. Trust this deep was sacred in Zirati culture. A child did not grant it lightly, and never to a human. The leader's mandibles clicked in fury. His claw twitched on the trigger. "Release them," he growled, voice low and venomous. The soldier didn't move. His blue eyes shifted from one hunter to the next, steady but weary. When he finally spoke, his words were calm, almost too calm. "They're alive because of me. If you take them now, you'll wake them and they'll panic. Do you want that?" The hunters snarled. How dare this fragile creature speak to them as though he understood their airs, as though he had earned the right. One hunter stepped forward, rifle barrel aimed directly at the human's chest. The soldier's armor, cracked and scorched, gleamed faintly in the crystal light. Up close, the evidence was undeniable: burns from plasma fire, gouges from claws, rents in the plating that revealed fresh bandages beneath. He hadn't sat idle, he had fought hard. The princess stirred. A small sound escaped her throat, soft and childlike. Instantly, the soldier lowered his voice. "Easy," he whispered, almost like a father soothing a frightened child. The girl settled back into sleep, her claws curling against the fabric of his armor. The cavern grew colder. The hunters weren't stupid. They knew what they were seeing. These were not hostages clinging out of fear. They were children clinging out of trust. Every instinct told them to fire anyway, to end this insult before it became a story that spread beyond these walls. But every instinct also told them that if they fired now, if they tore the princesses from this man, they would awaken to screams, panic, and blood, and the empire could not afford the queen's heirs, traumatized by her own hunters. "Who are you?" the leader demanded at last, voice cracking the tension. The soldier blinked slowly, exhaustion tugging at his expression. "Lieutenant Jason." "Hale," he answered, his tone clipped. "Military, Earth Defense Corps. Stranded after responding to a distress signal. Found them before the raiders did." His gaze sharpened. "I wasn't about to leave them." The name meant nothing to the hunters. The words, however, did. Raiders, pirates, scavengers, who had been haunting the borders for months, too slippery to pin down. If Hale spoke truth, then it was not Zerati incompetence that had endangered the princesses but an enemy they had failed to catch. The hunters shifted uneasily. The truth was poison in their veins. The leader raised his rifle higher, masking his hesitation with aggression. "Even if you speak true, human, you have touched what is sacred. You will answer for this." Hale exhaled, shoulders heavy but unbowed. His hands remained open. "Then let me answer. But don't punish them for trusting me." For the first time in their long history of conquest, the hunters of the Zerati hesitated before a human. The air snapped like a live wire. Plasma rifles remained leveled, humming with lethal promise, their barrels painting faint circles of heat on the cavern walls. The glow of bioluminescent crystals flickered against the polished surfaces of alien armor. And in the center of it all, Lieutenant Jason Hale sat unmoving, two princesses draped across his lap like fragile jewels, their breaths rising and falling in soft unison. The standoff could not hold forever. Something had to break. The eldest princess stirred first. Her spines twitched, her eyelids fluttered open, and she lifted her gaze straight into the barrels of a dozen alien weapons. A shrill hiss tore from her throat, the sound echoing sharp, enough to crack crystal veins in the cavern walls. The hunters stiffened. They had expected fear. What they received was defiance. The child hissed louder, baring needle-thin fangs. "No!" she cried in her native tongue, her small claws clenching the human's chest plate. "Do not touch him." The hunters froze, in disbelief. Their rifles wavered, just slightly, as if the word had carried physical weight. A princess defending a human. The younger sister woke next, blinking sleepily before realizing the danger. Her eyes widened, glossy with tears, and she buried herself against Hale's armor with a frightened whimper. Hale shifted his posture, instinctively protective, curling one arm around her without breaking his raised-handed surrender. His voice cut through the cavern, steady as a steel blade. They're not afraid of me. They're afraid of you. The leader's mandibles snapped with rage. His claw tightened on the trigger, the plasma core inside his rifle shrieking to life. Silence, human. You have bewitched them. Release them, or their blood and yours will paint these walls. The princess hissed again, sharper, louder. The cavern vibrated with her cry, a sound of royal command carried in a child's small body. If you harm him, she declared, we will never forgive you. The hunters exchanged uneasy glances. In Zirati culture, a royal heir's word carried ancestral weight. To defy it, even in childhood, risked dishonor that could ripple through generations. Yet the idea of yielding to a human, unthinkable. Hale's gaze flicked between their wavering rifles. His throat was dry, but his voice remained calm, firm. You came here to save them. So did I. We're on the same side, whether you admit it or not. The hunters bristled, torn between obedience to their queen and the undeniable sight before them. The daughters clinging, trembling, refusing to let go. Tension reached its breaking point. One hunter snapped, charging forward with a guttural roar, rifle raised to strike. Hale reacted on instinct. In a single motion, he rolled his body, shielding the children beneath him, armor scraping against jagged stone. The plasma bolt fired, striking the wall inches above the princess's head. Shards of crystal rained down in a shower of sparks and dust. The girls screamed. The cavern exploded in chaos. Rifles swung wildly, hunters shouting over one another, their commands colliding with the children's terrified cries. The leader bellowed for order. But the chamber had already fractured into panic. Through it all, Hale did not draw his weapon. He remained crouched, his body curved into an unbreakable shield. His voice cut through the storm like a beacon. Look at them, he roared. Is this what you came for? To terrify your own princesses? To make them cling tighter to me instead of you? The words hit like a blade. Hunters froze, their spines prickling with shame. Even the reckless one lowered his rifle, mandibles clicking nervously. The princesses whimpered softly, clutching tighter to the soldier who had made himself their wall. The cavern fell back into silence, every rifle trembling with doubt. The throne hall blazed with light. Thousands of crystalline spires jutted from the walls and ceiling like frozen lightning, pulsing with inner fire. Bioluminescent vines wrapped their lengths, bathing the chamber in hues of green and violet. At the far end, on a dais carved from black stone, older than any empire, the alien queen sat upon her throne of living crystal. Her tendrils writhed like serpents around her shoulders, each movement a silent reminder of her power, and before her, chained and flanked by hunters, knelt the human soldier. Lieutenant Jason Hale's armor had been stripped, leaving only torn fabric and bloodied bandages across his chest. His wrists were bound by energy manacles that hissed every time he moved, yet his posture was upright, unbroken, his gaze steady as it swept the hall filled with Sirati nobles, warriors, and courtiers. Their mandibles clicked with disdain, their eyes narrowing with barely concealed hunger. A human, here, in the throne hall of the Zirati Empire. Alive, an outrage. The queen's voice cracked the silence like thunder. You dare to place your hands upon my blood? You dare to let them sleep in your arms, as if you were kin? Her words slashed through the chamber, and the nobles roared their agreement. Shouts of execution, of blood payment, of purging this insult before it spread beyond the palace. Hale did not flinch. He waited until the echoes died, until the queen's glowing eyes pinned him once more. Then he spoke. They're alive. His voice carried, sharp and controlled. That's all that should matter. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Such insolence, from prey. The queen's tendrils stiffened, her spines flaring with fury. You will explain, she hissed, how my daughters were found draped across your body. Every detail, human, before I tear the truth from your bones. Hale's jaw clenched. For a moment, silence stretched, Then he began. He told them of the pirate ambush, how their vessel had been crippled, how its escorts had been slaughtered, how the distress signal had echoed through space, unanswered by every Zerati fleet, but not by him. His ship, damaged and stranded, had intercepted the call. He had chosen to act. He described the days that followed, fighting off raiders with dwindling ammunition, sharing his rations when the children grew hungry, carrying them through deserts of ash when their legs gave out. He spoke without embellishment, every word weighted with exhaustion and truth. His scars told the rest of the story. The court fell silent. Mandibles twitched, claws shifted on the stone floor. For all their disdain, they could not deny the evidence written across his battered body. Still, the queen's fury did not wane. Her voice trembled with wrath. You presume to suggest that we, my fleets, my hunters, that only you, a fragile human, could protect them. Hale lifted his chin, meeting her gaze without trembling. I don't presume, he said simply. I know, because I was there, and they're alive to prove it. The nobles hissed. Blades rattled in their sheaths. The queen's claws dug into the arms of her throne. For a heartbeat, the chamber teetered on the edge of bloodshed. Then a smaller voice broke through. Mother. Gasps erupted as the princesses appeared at the chamber's edge, flanked by guards who had failed to restrain them. They rushed forward, their spines bristling, their small claws gripping the hem of Hale's ragged shirt. The eldest looked up, at the throne, eyes burning with a child's fierce conviction. He saved us. When no one else came, he did. The younger nodded, trembling but resolute. We trust him. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Even the queen stilled her, spines folding tight against her skull. Her daughters clung to the very human she had intended to destroy, and the truth hung heavy in the air. The question was no longer whether he was guilty. It was whether the queen could deny what her own blood had already sworn. The throne hall shook with the queen's fury. The princess's words still echoed, clinging to the crystal walls like ghosts. We trust him. A human, a prey species, a creature the Zerati had dismissed since first contact. The queen rose from her throne in a storm of spines and tendrils, her crown of black stone glinting in the glow of living crystal. Each step cracked the floor beneath her claws, the sound like thunder. Her voice, when it came, was a weapon forged of rage. You dare to shame me before my court. You dare to suggest this fragile beast is your protector. Her tendrils whipped the air, sparking against the crystal spires. Have you forgotten your blood, your people, your empire? The princesses shrank back, but their small claws did not release Hale's shirt. They clung tighter, trembling but unyielding. The nobles erupted in fury. Their mandibles clacked, their voices rose in a storm of condemnation. Execute him. Tear his bones apart. Purge the insult. 2 hunters advanced, claws reaching for Hale's chains. Their orders were clear. Drag him to the execution pit. Hale met their eyes without flinching. He did not beg, he did not fight. His body was broken, his arms bound, but his gaze held steady. If this was the end, he would face it standing in spirit, if not in flesh. But the princesses cried out, voices sharp with terror. No, stop. The eldest threw herself in front of him, arms spread wide. Her spines rose, her fangs burred a tiny body defying an empire. If you kill him, you kill us too. The hall froze. Hunters hesitated, their claws inches from Hale's shoulders. Nobles fell into uneasy silence. Even the queen halted mid-step, her wrath colliding with something far more dangerous. Doubt. Hale's voice broke the stillness. Low, steady, measured like a soldier on his last stand. You want to kill me. Do it, but don't lie to yourself. Your daughters cling to me because I was there. I bled for them. I carried them. I shielded them. Not because I wanted glory, not because I wanted power, because they were children, and no one else came. His words hung heavy, wrapping the court in suffocating silence. The queen's tendrils stilled, curling close to her shoulders. Her eyes burned with venom, but beneath it flickered something else. Not weakness, not compassion, but recognition. He was right. For all her fleets, her hunters, her empire's pride, none of them had reached her daughters first. It had been this broken human, standing alone against pirates and death. Her fury surged again, desperate to smother. "The truth. You presume to lecture me," she roared, her claws sparking as they tore gouges into the black stone floor. "You presume to claim worth above my empire." Hale's chest rose and fell with the strain of standing tall. His voice never wavered. "I don't claim anything. I did my duty, and I'd do it again, no matter what you think I'm worth." The princesses pressed closer, their eyes shining with defiance and tears. The queen's breath hissed between her fangs. Her pride screamed for blood. Her people demanded vengeance. Yet before her throne stood the unshakable truth. Her daughters alive, unbroken, unafraid because of him. And if she killed him now, she would lose more than a soldier. She would lose her daughter's trust forever. The throne hall quivered under the weight of her choice. The throne hall was silent, but it was not peace. It was the silence of a storm waiting to break. The alien queen stood tall, her tendrils twitching like vipers in the air. Her spines flared wide in fury. Her claws drummed against the arm of her throne, each strike a sharp crack of restrained violence. Below her, Lieutenant Jason Hale remained on his knees, bound and battered, yet unbowed, and beside him clinging, trembling, defiant were the daughters she had nearly lost. Every eye in the chamber was locked on the small figures. The eldest princess lifted her chin, though her frame was slight, though her claws were no longer than a soldier's fang. Her voice carried with the sharpness of command. "Mother, you will not kill him." The nobles gasped, mandibles clicking in disbelief. Defiance in the royal hall was unheard of, especially from children. Yet the words were clear, steady, and ringing with authority that was not learned but inherited. The queen's eyes narrowed, glowing like molten fire. "You dare speak against me?" The princess did not falter. She stepped forward, still shielding Hale with her small body. Her spines flared with a mimicry of her mother's rage. "I dare, because it is truth. He saved us. He fought for us. He carried us when your hunters did not come." The younger princess's voice cracked as she joined in, eyes brimming with tears. "We cried for you. We sent the call. No one came, only him." She pressed against Hale's side, her small claws clutching the torn fabric of his shirt. "He bled for us. He is ours." The hall shuddered with scandal. Nobles recoiled, claws scraping stone, their voices rising in panicked fury. Treason. Blasphemy? They have been poisoned. The queen's spines rattled with barely restrained rage. Her voice lashed the air like a whip. "You are my daughters. You are heirs to the throne of the Zirati, and you dare to bind your loyalty to a human." The elder princess hissed, a sound sharp and ancient, echoing with instinct older than any empire. "We dare, because he earned it." The hall convulsed with outrage. Hunters slammed their spears against the floor, nobles shrieked for silence. But the princess's words rang louder than all of them. Hale remained silent, his eyes fixed forward. He had no defense left to give. His body, his scars, and their trust spoke more than his words ever could. The queen advanced, her towering frame looming over her daughters, her shadow swallowing them in violet and green light. Her tendrils snapped and hissed like whips as she roared, "You would choose him over your blood." The younger shook her head fiercely. "No, we choose both. We choose him and you. But if you kill him, you kill the part of us that trusts you." The words struck harder than any blade. For the first time, the queen faltered. Her claws trembled where they gripped the throne's edge. Around her, nobles froze mid-cry, as if the air itself had been stolen. The princesses pressed close against Hale, their small bodies a wall between him and their mother's wrath. Two children, standing against the will of an empire, and the court, for all its fury, could not look away. The alien queen stared down at her daughters, torn between rage and something far more dangerous fear, not of the human, not of his defiance, but of losing the loyalty of the only beings in the galaxy who mattered more than her pride. The throne hall trembled under the weight of silence. The alien queen loomed above, her spines quivering, her tendrils twitching in the charged air. Her daughters stood below, defiant in their smallness, clutching the battered human as if he were their fortress. The court held its breath. Nobles crouched low, claws scraping the stone floor. Hunters' weapons hummed, but did not fire. The galaxy itself seemed to pause, waiting to see whether wrath or reason would rule. The queen's gaze bore into her daughters, then slid to Hale. His face was pale, drawn tight with exhaustion, but his eyes still, steady, unbroken, met hers, without fear. He had no armor now, no weapon, no army behind him, only scars, only truth. Her voice rose, shaking the hall. You shame me before my empire. You bind your loyalty to prey. And yet, the word lingered like venom in the air. The queen's claws flexed. Her instincts howled to end him, to erase the insult, to prove before all that no human could stand equal to the Zerati. Pride demanded blood, but when she looked at her daughters, truly looked, she saw what she could not deny. They were not afraid of him. They were afraid of losing him, and if she struck him down now, their terror would not fade with his body. It would turn inward, seeping into their trust in her. A wound no throne could heal. The queen's tendrils curled inward. Her claws slowly lowered. Her voice dropped, quiet but sharp enough to cut stone. Very well, the human lives. The hall erupted in chaos. Nobles shrieked in disbelief. Hunters snarled their disapproval. Weapons rattled against armor. Blasphemy, weakness, treason. The queen silenced them with a single lash of her tendrils that shattered a crystal spire to dust. Her voice thundered across the chamber. You call it weakness? Look closer. This fragile thing, this soldier you would spit upon, stood alone where our fleets failed. He bled where our hunters faltered. He carried what is most precious to me when none of you could. Tell me again of weakness if you dare. The chamber fell to its knees. Even the most defiant nobles lowered their gaze. Hell exhaled slowly, the tension finally loosening in his chest. His wrists still burned from the chains, but he made no plea for freedom. He simply nodded once, weary but resolute. The queen stepped closer, towering above him. Her eyes gleamed with venom and something else. Respect, reluctant but undeniable. You have bought your life, human, she said. But more than that, you have bought a debt. The Zerati do not forget debts. You will find that as both a gift and a curse. The princesses pressed against him, relief softening their trembling. Their loyalty had not broken. It had forged something new. The queen turned, her spines folding close. Her voice carried not just to her court, but to the unseen galaxy beyond. Let it be known, the Zerati Empire owes its heirs' lives to a soldier of Earth. From this day, the prey we scorned shall be named ally, not by treaties, not by convenience. By blood, the hall gasped. A new chapter of history had been written. Not by fleets or crowns, but by one soldier's compassion. Hale lowered his head, not in submission, but in quiet acknowledgement. He had not come seeking glory, but survival. Yet in saving two frightened children, he had altered the balance of empires, and in the silence that followed, a truth echoed through the crystalline hall. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the shield no one had expected, and the galaxy would never forget.